Greetings all. Welcome to another Spirnancial Foundation. I'm Coach Dr. Monica Andrews, and here at Spirnancial, we learn how to align every area of our lives with God's design. Spirnancial simply stands for spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, social, and financial, in that order. Because I truly believe financial prosperity is the result of being aligned with God in every area of our lives. So today, I want to talk with you about something that every family should understand. The 4 tenets of biblical wealth stewardship. Yes. You see, most people spend their lives learning how to make money, but very few ever are taught what to do with the money once we earn it. Think about it. I believe this is one of the reasons that so many families work hard their entire lives, but never build lasting wealth. So today I want to share 4 biblical principles that have shaped the way that I learn to think about stewardship now. So before we talk about money, let's talk about ownership. Psalm 24:1 says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it." Pretty simple. That means before we ever earn a single dollar, before we purchase a house, before we start a business, it already belongs to God. We're simply managing what He has entrusted with us. That changes the game, changes everything, because stewardship begins with ownership, and ownership belongs to God. So the first tenet is position. Now, most people focus on how, again, much money they are making, how much they can earn, how much more they can earn. But I encourage people to also think about how their money is positioned. This is so key. That includes understanding things like taxes, ownership, planning, and making wise financial decisions. I'm not talking about avoiding taxes. I'm talking about understanding the rules and becoming a better steward. Now, 2 people can actually earn the exact same income, and they can end up in very different financial situations. Why? Because one understands positioning and the other doesn't. Ask yourself, am I positioning my resources wisely? The second tenet is to protect your money. Now, building wealth without protecting it is like building a beautiful home. Think about your dream home, beautiful home you built, and you never lock a single door. Not the front door, not the back door, not the patio doors. You leave the doors unlocked. You see, God entrusts resources to us, and I believe He also expects us to protect them. That may include insurance, appropriate legal structures, beneficiary designations, good record keeping, or simply preparing for the unexpected. Now, protection isn't fear. Protection is truly stewardship. Ask yourself, what has God entrusted to you that you should be protecting better at this point? Tenet number 3, this is where we like to put our money to work for us. We like our money to go out there and bring back friends. We want our money to grow. Okay? Grow. So tenet number 3 is grow. You see, God never intended for every dollar we earn to simply pass through our hands. Some of what He entrusts to us should be positioned to grow. That might be through investing, learning new skills, owning a business, creating additional streams of income, or finding other ways to increase what God has entrusted to us. This reminds me of the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. The servants who wisely managed what they had been entrusted with, they were commended. See, growth requires intentional stewardship. Ask yourself, is what God has entrusted me with growing? Is any of it growing? Any percentage of it? And finally, tenet number 4. The 4th one is pass it on. Pass on the wealth. One of the greatest mistakes families make is believing legacy is only passing on money. Legacy is much bigger than money, family. Legacy includes wisdom, faith, values, character, instructions, and yes, financial resources, definitely, okay? Proverbs 13:22 tells us that a good person leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And I believe an inheritance is more than just financial. We should leave understanding. One of my favorite statements is this: a legacy is not simply what you leave to people. It's what you leave in people. Ask yourself, what am I passing on besides money? Now, let's review the 4 tenets. Position, protect, grow, pass on. Again, position, protect, grow, pass on. Notice how they work together. If you don't position wisely, it becomes harder to protect. If you don't protect, you may never have the opportunity to grow. And if you don't grow, there's very little to pass on. And if you pass on money without passing on wisdom, the money may not last. 9 times out of 10, it won't last. It will never get to your children's children. So that's why I call these the 4 tenets of biblical wealth stewardship. One of the things that people ask me is, why is financial the last pillar in Spirnancial? And I share because I simply believe our relationship with God shapes our thinking. Very key. Our thinking influences our emotions. Our emotional health, it affects how we care for our physical bodies. These 4 areas influence the relationships that we build, and all of those together affect how we manage money. You see, financial stewardship doesn't begin with money. It begins with spiritual alignment. That's why the order matters: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, social, and then financial. So this week, I want to ask you to take out a sheet of paper. Write these 4 words down: position, protect, grow, pass on. Again, position, protect, grow, pass on. Then I want you to ask yourself, what is one step I can take this week in each of these 4 areas? Now, you don't want to try to change everything overnight. Just take one faithful step. Just one faithful step. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 4 tenets need your attention the most right now? Is it position, number 1, protect, number 2, grow, number 3, or pass on, number 4? Comment below and simply type 1, 2, 3, or 4 if you like. So, family, if you found today's foundation helpful, I invite you to subscribe and join me each Sunday evening as we continue building our lives through the way God wants us to, through Spirnancial Foundations. And don't forget, every Tuesday and Thursday, I share practical spiritual insights that you can begin applying right away. So until next time, remember, nothing happens by accident. And all things are working together for good, for you, in divine order.